Hello. It's been a while again, hasn't it? Sorry about that. I feel good. Just got out of the shower. Just been to the gym. I joined the gym. We'll get into that later. But people say that when you go to the gym in the morning, it makes you feel like ready for the day. Makes you energized. I just want to go back to bed. That's all I want to do. For those of you who don't know, Jack and Dean, the YouTube phenomenon, we now have a series. It's called Jack and Dean of All Trades. And if you don't know anything about it, here is the lowdown. Here, I'll catch you up. So Jack and Dean work in a bank. They're not very happy doing it, and certain circumstances, they quit. They quit the bank, and they don't know what to do next, so they become temps. They meet a character called Marv, who I can't believe this is a thing. She's played by none other than Jessica Hines. If you don't know who Jessica Hines is, Jess has been in shows like The Royal Family, which is one of the first sitcoms I ever loved. Spaced, which is her and Simon Pegg, they wrote it, and it was actually the first thing I think that Edgar Wright directed. So it's really cool that she's in it. I can't believe it. Like, we wrote the character Marv for her. Like, we wrote it being like someone like Jessica Hines, but obviously not Jessica Hines, because that's not going to happen, is it? And then lo and behold, we sent her the scripts, she liked the scripts, and now she's in it, and she plays the character that we wrote for her. Oh God, what is my life? It feels like we've made a really classic little British sitcom, because Kerry Godliman's in it. You may know her from Derek. She's the main character in Derek. Alex Lowe plays my dad in the show. You may know him. He's from like Phoenix Nights. He was in that. And Emily Joyce plays my mum, and you may know her. She was in a sitcom called My Hero. So there's a lot of people in it that you'll go, I think I know that person, which is really great. I feel so proud of it. You may not know how stuff works in the industry, but basically we had the idea for this show coming up on 2 years ago, and we were developing it with somebody else, but it dies away. That happens all the time. Things just start and then they don't ever get finished. And so we sort of left it alone for a little while, and then in sort of this time last year, sort of like March, April of last year, we were in Cannes because we were showing GFC. We'd just made that, and me and Dean and our agent Matthew, we sat on a beach and we wrote like a treatment on the beach for the first sort of 6 episodes of this show. We pitched it to a few companies. Few companies showed interest, but one company grabbed it and then didn't let go, and that was Fullscreen. You may know Fullscreen. They're a YouTube network, but also they are now starting this new thing. It's an app. It's basically like Netflix, but combined with MTV and HBO, like a HBO for a younger generation, I think is a good way of putting it. This new app, it's out on April 26th. The series isn't out on April 26th, but the app will be available on April 26th. This isn't sponsored by them, by the way. I'm just excited that my show is going to be like on a thing. After they gave us the go-ahead, we sat and wrote it. We wrote it with our friend Paul Neafcy. Me and Paul basically like we're on Skype to each other all the time. My housemate Daniel J. Layton would leave me in the living room sometimes. We'd write all over, but sometimes I'd be in the living room and he would return and I would be in the exact same position on the sofa, but there'd be like a wall covered in post-it notes. I'd love to talk more about the writing process. If you'd be interested in that, leave it in the comments. I'll happily talk about it. I'll talk about this series forever. I'll talk about whatever you want in detail. We shot it in about 20 days, and all for that's going to be covered. I think there's some behind the scenes stuff you'll be able to watch on Fullscreen. I was getting up at 5 a.m. and I'm not a morning person at all, but getting up at 5 a.m. to go and do a job like that, like go and make your first series, sure. I was directing it, by the way. That's another thing. Obviously, it's me and Dean that are starring in it, and we wrote it together with Neafcy, but I took the reins of directing, and that's the biggest thing I've ever done. So I couldn't do it alone, so I worked with another guy that we worked with before called Matt Holt, and he is as my producer Becky would call it, a dream. Matt helped us out with our live shows and also with GFC. He co-directed that with me. Not many people could come on board to facilitate somebody else's vision. I'm not a visionary. I'm not Zack Snyder, but I do have a very clear vision for what Jack and Dean should be. The pace of things, the way that things should look. I do have a very clear vision for what Jack and Dean is. And so, yeah, doing this thing for 20 days, getting up at 5 a.m., spending, over 12, 14 hours doing something, it can get really tiring. But after 20 days, I could have done another 20 days without a doubt. So just to put it in a sort of category, it was a little bit like a dream job. Just imagine that, living your dream. After Christmas, we went into editing, and we were editing for a month, and we'd been editing while we were going, so there was rough cuts going on. But then throughout the entirety of January, me and Gary Gaza, we sat we sat together and we edited all 6 episodes. So I was there mostly every day over Gary's shoulder, being the most typical director and going like, no, one frame to the left. No, I was wrong. bit more to the right. I look back at that and I think, oh, Gary must have fucking hated that. But at the same time, we did get it done, and that was the most important thing. And we got it done well. It's a good show. It's a good show. I think it's a good show. So let's just bullet point that. We pitched the show. Someone said yes. We spent time writing the show. Then we made the show. I was on set all the time because I was not only in it, but I was also directing. And then I came off of the show, Christmas, then edited the show, and then it was finished in February. It was finished at the beginning of February. It's done. Then, because I was in that sort of mood, we did a couple of other Jack and Dean sketches, and we've got more planned that we want to do. We've got ideas for days, but we've been like traveling a little bit to promote the show in LA. We went over there to do like some promo stuff for full screen, and this week I'm going to play this live. I'll be there, and because of all this stuff, it feels like everything's sort of paused for a second. So I've had a chance to realise where I am in my life right now, and where that is sort of no man's land. I'm floating. I'm a little bit like, oh, what's next? And I don't know the answer to that question. And that's why yesterday was the worst day of the year so far for me. I got low, like really fucking sad. And I thought, like, all the most typical creative things, like an artist is always like this. Self-doubting, and thought I was a fraud, and was worried that other people were starting to notice that, worried that I was becoming irrelevant. And this was happening over the last week or so, but it really hit me yesterday. And I could have just stayed in bed all day. And I was at my mum's as well. I went back to visit her, and I went back and I could have just stayed there. But instead of that, and this isn't like a heroic journey, but I got up, I went back to London, I got to work, I read a script for something else that me and Neafcy are working on, and gave some notes, talked to him about it, and then I joined a gym. What? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, back off. Because I need to try something new. I need to pull myself out of this hole, and I need to move forward and not think about what's been, but more what's to come. So yesterday I had my gym consultation. We keep calling it a gym confrontation or a gym continental breakfast. And every time I've been, I went for a view, a look around, and consultation, confrontation, continental, and think of more of those. And today I went for my first ever like proper session, and this one guy is always there. What does he do? Like, does he just live there? But does he spend all day there? Because I spent like an hour and a half there today. He was there before I got there, and he was still there when I left. So I'm going to try that, and hopefully that is going to like spur some new creative juices within me, and hopefully something new will come out of that, because I want a new idea, and that's my problem, I think, with my creative process, is I don't really have, number one, I don't have a process, and number two is initial ideas don't come to me as often as they should be. And hopefully this will help me come up with something new, and if not, like it will definitely improve something. It's not going to be a negative thing, is it? My point being though, if you are in a bad place, you can change it. And I know I wasn't in the worst of worst places, but you can see that I went from like dream highlights of my life to just nothing very quickly. And when you do that, when you go from high to low that quickly, obviously you slump. I think Hazel calls it the post-production blues. If you are in a bad place, you can do something about it. Don't sit there thinking about the way things could be, or how you could like change it if someone just gave you a chance or anything like that. I think you can go out there and do something. Join a gym, become a health nut like me. I'm officially, I think that's probably what I am now. I've been to the gym once, so I'm an expert. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a sort of normal size thumbs up. It doesn't need to be massive. I just like to know that you enjoyed it. And if you liked it, then you should like it, because that just makes sense, doesn't it? Leave me a comment talking about anything that you found interesting in this video, and I'll try and talk to you some more, even if it's just like a rambling mess like this. Or, people always ask me for film recommendations, so maybe I could do something like that. I'm going to make a video soon about Steve Jobs, and I'll make another video about the series. If you want to know anything else about it, let me know. And I'll see you soon. I hope you're having a lovely day. Bye.